It's March 28th, 2002, and Namco has just released their newest game, Tekken 4, on the PlayStation 2, about a year after it launched in arcades. To say this game was controversial would be an understatement. It was heavily criticized by competitive players, with many actually opting to stick with Tekken Tag Tournament, the prior game, because they hated so many of the game's changes. We saw stuff like major movement nerfs, the removal of the majority of combos, and of course the newly added wall and terrain system, which at first was pretty broken. Despite competitive players not being happy, it was almost universally loved by more casual fans of the series. Unfortunately though, the people who didn't like it were incredibly vocal. So much so that Harada, the chief director of the series, actually left Namco for an entire year, claiming he was bombarded with criticism and left because of extreme stress. There's a world where Harada never came back, and the future of Tekken as we know it would be completely changed. That is, of course, not what happened. Harada returned about a year later, and formally began his next project, Tekken 5. This game would be different. It would take what fans loved about Tekken Tag Tournament, the fast and fluid gameplay, the satisfying combos, and the extreme movement, combined with a lot of the good stuff that was introduced in Tekken 4. The wall system returned, but was completely rethought out. This time serving less as a casual gimmick, and actually adding many new layers of strategy. The game had to appeal to casual players, as that's where the majority of revenue comes from in fighting games, but also not alienating the core fanbase. I don't envy Harada and his team during this development time. There was so much riding on this, not only because of Tekken 4's mediocre sales, but also because Tekken 5 was being made to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the series. An anniversary, mind you, that was fast approaching. The team only had roughly 2 years to create the first version of this game. I don't know how they did it, but somehow they did. And what a game it was. Tekken 5 blasted the series to new heights, becoming by far the most successful and well-received Tekken game at the time. The game is just so slick and fun to play, even to this day. I honestly can't explain it, but this is when Tekken really started to feel like Tekken, the game we all know today. Everything is just so fluid and responsive. The movement feels incredibly satisfying. All the attacks have this added weight to them that makes them feel so much more real, and the character roster is perfect. Still probably the best in the series if you ask me. Stages were greatly reduced in scope compared to 4. We weren't fighting in entire 3-section airports. These stages were more compact and dense, making it a lot easier to focus on the fight itself, while also being a core part of your strategy in a fight. This was the first game where we saw real wall combos. You would have to know the stage you were on inside and out. You have to know how big it is, know where the walls are in relation to where you are. How far am I from the wall? How can I optimize this juggle to ensure that I splat my opponent on the perfect angle and can get that juicy extra damage? Or is it worth doing an easier, smaller combo that gives me more damage and forces my opponent to wake up and take a mix-up? There was so much to consider here from a competitive standpoint. Tekken 5 was before the bound system got added, so combos were always quick. There are no 20-second juggles to be found here. You get right back into the action very quick. The health bar was significantly lower than the 200 we see today in Tekken 8. Each character only had 145 HP, something that isn't inherently a problem, but would become one later when you consider the sheer damage. Tekken 5 has some of the deadliest combos in series history. If a top-tier character clipped you with a launcher, you can expect to take at least 60 to 70% of your HP bar, with a few very unfortunate exceptions where you might actually die from a single hit. Remember when I said this game needed to be made in 2 years? Well, they did a great job masking that rush development for casuals. 95% of people could play Tekken 5 and never find any issues. It was a very well-made game. It's only when you started to look at the more finer details. For the other 5%, the real Tekken nerds, the people like me who can tell you all about frame data and optimizing each character for tournament play, only those people would realize some of this game's biggest issues. As much as I adore Tekken 5, I think this is by far the worst competitively balanced Tekken game in modern series history. The average top tier in this game was just so incredibly broken. More powerful than in any other Tekken game to date. Every character spat out the most ridiculous damage, sometimes doing a third of your life bar from a quick, simple 10-frame punish, and sometimes doing an infinite that would just kill you. 2 separate characters had infinites. with both of these almost certainly being unintentional bugs. There are moves in this game that, even when you blocked them, guaranteed that you would take damage. So many issues like this popped up with the top tiers. It's pretty clear not a ton of that 2 years was allocated to the finer competitive balance. Understandably so. But here comes Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, the swan song of many competitive Tekken players, releasing only a year after the base game. This was a completely separate, updated version of Tekken 5, aiming primarily to please the competitive players, making significant balance changes on all the characters. Despite both being called Tekken 5, these are both very different games, and we're going to be talking about both of them. Join me in this video as we take a look at the best of the best, the most broken and dominant top tier characters, both in the original version of Tekken 5 and in Dark Resurrection. We'll be seeing how the meta differed between these two titles, how characters were nerfed, what slipped through the cracks, and of course, all the insane shenanigans these games are known for. It's going to be a long one, so I would greatly appreciate it if you considered subscribing to the channel. Only a tiny percentage of my viewers are subscribed, so it's really a big help, and lets me know you guys want to see more long-form content like this. Alright, that's more than enough shilling. Let's get into the first character, and head to the United Kingdom.
Steve Fox in Tekken 5 was, to put it simply, broken. And I know I've said this about a lot of characters in the series, but this guy is genuinely on a whole other level. He honestly makes even the worst defenders in modern Tekken games look terrible in comparison. And many people actually consider him to be the most overpowered character in Tekken history.
On paper, this is largely the same Steve as you guys know today.
He's a counter-hit machine, boasting some of the best poking and counter-hits in the game. He smothers you in constant pressure, transitioning between his flicker stance, duck stance, albatross, and various sways, to give himself big plus frames and trap you into pressing carelessly. Once you do, he counter-hit launches you for big damage. He has one of the best wall combos in the game, pretty much guaranteeing at least 60% life if he gets the wall. And his combo damage in general is very high. Steve as a character is known for being safe. He doesn't have to take huge risks, and can generally just poke you down, waiting for you to get frustrated and then make a mistake. This playstyle was helped greatly from him having an 8-frame jab. Yes, Tekken 5 and Tekken 5 DR were the last Tekken games where some characters had 8-frame fast jabs. Today, of course, they're universally 10 frames, so this is a huge deal. Not only because he can pressure and interrupt significantly faster than the other characters, but it also changes safety as you know it. These days, a move that's minus 10 on block or more is considered unsafe, as you can get a punish. But Steve, and any other character with an 8-frame jab, can punish minus 8 moves. This means you have to rethink every single move you throw at him, because stuff that's safe against other characters might not be safe against him. Flowcharts and setups that leave you at a frame advantage might not work anymore if you're playing against a Steve, because he can interrupt at 8 frames. You have to change your approach a lot when fighting one of these characters. And of course, pretty much all of the top tiers in this game had 8-frame jabs. Unfortunately though, this isn't even close to being all we have to talk about for Steve. He of course has his most defining move, the quick hook, back one, an incredibly fast counter hit launcher that transitions him into flicker stance on block for added safety and mix-ups. If you ever press into this back one, you are going for a ride. And in this game, and in this game only, you actually didn't even need a counter hit. You could get a bunch of follow-ups on regular hit because of how much plus frames it gave you, and could get full combo damage. Okay, now it's time to talk about the biggest thing. Tekken 5, as I mentioned earlier, had insane movements, the fastest and smoothest in the series, so backdashes and sidesteps were more important than ever. Steve was able to use this better than anyone else because of his built-in movements. As a lot of you probably know, because Steve is a boxer, he doesn't use kicks. But because Tekken's control scheme is based on every character having 2 punch buttons and 2 kicks, when you press the kick buttons as Steve, instead of getting an attack, you do a sway, either to the left or to the right, depending on which button you press. Steve can do a regular sidestep and then immediately press 3 or 4 to cover way more range, which is very useful in a game like this, before the days of every move and string being homing. Steve would abuse this strong movement, and if he ever sidestepped you, even a single time doing a normal sidestep, the round was actually over. This is why Steve is considered to be the most broken Tekken character ever. When he presses 3, he weaves to the left and gets access to a couple new moves. His 1-1 in this stance is designed to be a 2-hit punish button during your sway. If you pressed 1-1, you would get this, 40 damage and a knockdown. Pretty cool, right? Well, presumably due to an oversight on the developer's part, if you held down the 3 button during your sway and then pressed 1-1, you would get this. Your opponent would be put into almost 3 seconds of hit stun. After getting one tiny sidestep, capitalizing on your opponent's single mistake, the round is actually over. You step, 3-1-1, and you can loop this 3 to 4 times, and then end with whatever combo you feel like. I don't need to tell you guys why this is stupidly broken. All the complexity of tournament play, all the mind games, the reads, the execution, it all goes right down the toilet against Steve. If you make one tiny mistake, even if you whiff a little jab and he sidesteps it, you just lost. You just lost the round. And this doesn't take execution either. Anyone can do these combos. They are very easy. So that was really it. That was the entire game plan on Steve. Sure, you have some of the best poking and some of the best counter hit tools in the game, but who needs any of them when you have an option like this? It's completely game breaking and made every single character in the game terrified of fighting Steve. You're always at risk of him stealing the round. If you want another stupid move, his forward 1+2, the stun gun, is also bugged. Or at least I hope this move's properties are bugged, because if this is intentional, something was very wrong with the balance direction of this game. This is a slow move, 28 frames to start up, but is -3 on block, completely safe, and it's evasive as he takes a step back while doing it. Steves could use this when they thought you were trying to jab or use a quick small range move. It could clip you quite often, and if he hit this move at the wall, it would also give 3 seconds of hit stun. If he hit you with this at any HP, even at full HP, you just lost the round. He has not one, but 2 insta-kill moves. Pretty insane to say the least. There's even more stuff we could go over, like his punishments. Steve is generally known for having horrible punishments. It's how he's been balanced in almost every Tekken game, besides this one. Again, he has an 8-frame jab, meaning his 1-1-2 is an 8-frame punish. For -13 attacks, he does back 1, and because of its guaranteed follow-up, he gets 60 damage, almost half life. Steve also has a 15-frame down forward 2 normal hit launcher. This is the only game in Steve's history where he's had something like this, and it works just like Paul's. 15 frames and completely safe on block, so he can launch you. Oh god. If you know anything about Steve's general balance philosophy, he is never allowed to have tools like this. He's supposed to rely on counter hits, but Steve in this game just didn't have to. He still had great counter hit pressure. His Albatross 2, a key stance mid for him, for some reason counter hit launched in this game. This was used in a ton of setups, like his flicker jab, where if you pressed any button after Steve did this, you would instantly get counter hit from the Albatross 2. There's nothing you could do. I could go on and on, but I'll leave it here. Steve was the king of Tekken 5. And guess what? After a million nerfs, he was still top tier in DR. Pretty much all of the super broken stuff we just talked about was actually removed here. The 3-1-1 death sidestep move is gone.
Though for some reason, his stun gun is still here, and it's still an insta-kill move. I don't know why they didn't remove this.
His punishment was also nerfed hard. Back 1 no longer guaranteed a follow-up on normal hits, meaning it wasn't useful as a 13-frame punisher. And worst of all, down forward 2's normal launch property is gone. Now it only launches on counter hits. How will Steve players ever survive? Well, they did survive. Steve still has everything that made him a strong counter hit character. Some of the absolute best counter hit launchers we've ever seen in Tekken. Back 1, down forward 2, and so many other confirmable strings from his various stances, like the flicker 1-1, a jab out of his stance that you can easily counter hit confirm for a huge launch and big damage. And did I mention, Steve still has some of the best combo damage in this game. His poking was also arguably made better? His 1-1 into flicker, a high mid poke string, became +3 on block in this game. His 1-2-1 was +1 into flicker stance. And interestingly enough, his 2 jab, which came out at 9 frames, was +2 on block. A pretty huge deal. Jabs were almost always +1, so having a jab that gives you double the advantage on block changes a lot of interactions, and it's still 9 frames, faster than the standard jab. He got lots of good changes here. 5DR was also the game that made his duck canceling much faster and more evasive, which was useful for a lot of classic Steve setups. There's a lot of complicated stuff I could get into, but rest assured, Steve had plenty of sauce in this game. He wasn't quite as strong as the Mishimas, but was still a fleshed out character, who in this game actually had some form of defined weakness. Wow, imagine that, Namco. His punishment nerf hit him hard, going from having some of the game's best punishment to some of the worst. And as his game-breaking stuff was nerfed, there were some other weaknesses, which, while present before, became much more of a problem here, like his lack of safe low pokes. He struggled to open up his opponent if they had strong defense, and didn't get impatient and press into him. Though he could get a full combo from his down back 3-2, a low string at the wall here for a 50% combo. Pretty dumb. His poking, counter hits, and combo damage still let him compete with the best of the best here, while he was also decidedly much easier to deal with. I think the developers did a pretty good job with him here. But anyway, let's move back to Tekken 5 and look at some more of the gods in this game. Feng Wei saw his first ever appearance here in Tekken 5, and joined the series as an undisputed top tier. While Steve was the best because of the few genuinely broken god moves he had, Feng Wei decided to give up these kind of tools for a much more all-around moveset that was still, you guessed it, completely overpowered. He's a super evasive character who controls space and locks you down exceptionally well, having some of the best offense and defense in the game. He's so all around. Anything you wanted to do on this character, any playstyle you wanted to approach him with, Feng Wei could do it better than anyone else. First off, he has some of the most ridiculous poking in Tekken history. His down forward 1, the universal quick mid poke in Tekken, wasn't -3 on block, or -1, or even neutral. It was +1. If you aren't too into Tekken, you might not understand frame data, and you might not get why this is such a huge deal. I know talking about frames can be scary, but stay with me here. Fast mid-pokes don't get to be plus on block. It's never been that way. 1 jabs fill that purpose. This is your way to build momentum on your opponent's block during the poking stages of the game. On paper, jabs being +1 are overpowered, but they're balanced around being highs. If you get too predictable using jabs, they'll get ducked and you'll get punished. This is where the down forward 1 comes in, your fast mid-poke. This is used to check your opponent and stop them from attempting a duck. And the price you pay for this added safety is giving up the +1
and slightly losing your turn.
Most down forward ones today are -3 on block, and the best ones are -1. But for both of these, if your opponent thinks you're going to keep pressing buttons after blocking it, they can easily interrupt it and take their turn back. So Tekken 5 Feng Wei's mid-poke being +1 on block becomes pretty problematic. The presumed balance philosophy here is that Feng Wei's down forward 1 comes out slightly slower than most. 14 frame startup instead of 13. So even though it's plus on block, your opponent can't immediately jab to beat a Feng Wei spamming this. Except the developers forgot they gave him Iron Palm, the back 1. Today, this move is an exceptionally good 10 frame startup counter hit tool, used to stuff out your opponent's offense, stop pressing, get off me, and respect my plus frames. And if you don't, you eat a ton of damage. But it is a high, so it can be ducked, and if it gets blocked, you are unsafe. That's how this move works today. In this game, it wasn't 10 frames. It was 8 frames. An 8-frame fast counter hit tool that does 44 damage, a third of your life bar every time it connects because of the guaranteed follow-up. This is easily the best panic button in the game, and the best panic button we've actually ever seen in Tekken's history. No one else gets an 8-frame panic option, but Feng Wei does. He can interrupt all sorts of things that no other character in the cast can. And if that wasn't enough, it's safe on block.
These two things alone made his poking incredible, though even this doesn't compare to the next character we're going to talk about, the queen of poking. Anyway,
he'll smother you with down forward 1 plus frame pressure, and you're always scared to try and jab back because his back 1 will beat it, and you'll end up taking a third of your life. The risk reward here is ridiculous. I didn't mention it before, but his down forward 1 also launched you on crouch. So if you just blocked one of these and you tried to duck after, either to avoid the back 1 or a jab, you get launched. There is counterplay that exists to this. You could actually tech roll the down forward 1 knockdown, but you needed perfect timing. This was very hard to do. Most people would just eat it. And even if you did, Feng Wei gets to walk up right next to you and force his insane 50-50. Kind of a lot of properties all from his safe mid poke that's supposed to be low risk, low reward. Speaking of low risk, Feng Wei has a 50-50. He gets to 50-50 you with an unseeable low launcher, is sidestep 4. This actually still exists today. But today, it's bounced around being very high risk, like all snake edges are. If your opponent blocks it, you are staggered and take a huge combo. In this game, however, the low is only -14. Most characters can't launch punish this, and if it connects, you get a full combo. The risk reward is always in your favor, and if we combine this with his godly safe mids, we have a pretty dumb 50-50 here. Down forward 3, the lift kick, is a safe on block launcher, completely safe on block. Or you could use sidestep 1+2, a plus on block knockdown mid with a guaranteed follow-up. This is just too much. And there's so much more to talk about. We could go on all day. His 1-1 is a jab string that's a high mid, and that mid is actually safe on block. And it launches on counter hit. He has a safe mid counter hit launcher from his jab. His down 2 is one of the best lows in the game. It fully beats any high attacks, having instant high evasion, gives 40 damage on counter hits, and is only -11 in a game where most lows are launch punishable. The theme of Feng Wei is low risk, insane reward. His forward 2-1 is again one of the best strings in the game, completely safe mid-mid, very counter hit confirmable and delayable, and it knocks down for a shoulder. Yeah, lots of mids, lots of poking. Feng Wei of course has Kempo, his super evasive stance. This is so good for range control. You can get out of danger instantly by the press of a button and then threaten tons of mix-ups and lots of evasion. His forward 3 stomp was +23 on hit in this game. +23 on hit. So you'd die if you ate this. Weirdly enough for Feng Wei, he had great combo damage as well, which is very odd. With all this combined, I'm sure you can understand why he was an absolute tournament staple. Easily a top 3 character here in Tekken 5. And Feng Wei actually remained very strong in DR. Not an undisputed top 3 character anymore, but still absolutely a top tier. Let's see how he changed. The key stuff that makes Feng Wei so good is still here. His down forward 1, still plus on block. Amazing. And his back 1 still comes out at 8 frames. However, it was now nerfed to be -10 on block. Thank God. Even still, the move is completely busted, but at least you can now punish him for throwing it out mindlessly. This is how this move should always function. It should never be safe on block. His 1-1 is still an incredible string, being a safe counter hit launcher, and the forward 2-1 is also still there. All of his string stuff pretty much didn't change at all. And the forward 3 stomp we mentioned is still a +3 on block normal hit launcher that also hits grounded. Talk about moves that have a lot of properties. His 50-50 was hit very hard. Sidestep 4 went from being -14 on block to -24 and staggering. Now if your opponent made a read, they could block it and blow you up. Which, yes, it should have always been this way. Launching lows should never even be remotely safe. They should always give a massive guaranteed combo if your opponent reads it. That's pretty much it though. You still have so many great tools on this character. Such good poking, such good launching mids. An 8-frame panic option just makes you so scary to fight at any point in the match. Feng Wei players were doing very well for themselves in Tekken 5 DR. They just had to work a little bit harder. Nina Williams completes the trifecta of gods in Tekken 5. These 3 characters were truly very far ahead of everyone else. And let me just say this. If you hate fighting Nina today, with her constant plus frames and her looping poking and pressure, just know she is nothing compared to what she was back in this game. You know her down forward 1-2, right? The mid-high string that jails so you can't duck and is the core of her gameplay? It's one of the most annoying moves to deal with in Tekken 8. Well, it was the same here in this game. Except it is +1 on block. Yes, +1 on block.
And hers wasn't slower than average like Feng Wei's. Hers was just as fast as all the other down forward ones in the game.
And this, combined with her 8-frame jab, means you are not out poking her. Why is this a thing? Why do you do this to us, Namco? Her down forward 1-2 can't go into her crouch dash in this game, but of course it still has a million extensions, counter hit knockdowns, a mid that can be cancelled into a guaranteed chain throw, and of course plenty of strings, all the stuff you would expect from this move. If an 8-frame jab and a down forward 1-2 that's plus on block wasn't enough, she has the snake shot, sidestep 1. On paper, this move is the same as it is today. It's a very quick mid jab that is +12 on block, going into her either forward or backsway stance. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys why this is strong. It's always been strong, and is one of the best pressure tools in Tekken. But you know what property Tekken 5 gave to this version of the move? If your opponent blocked a sidestep 1, and you immediately held back to go into her backsway, and then pressed down 4 as soon as possible, you get a guaranteed hit. That means exactly what you think it does. She has a +12 on block mid poke that guarantees a 7 damage low. You cannot block it, you cannot low parry, you are still in block stun. There is absolutely nothing you could do. The caveat is that it does seem to be pretty tight and require some execution, although I was actually able to hit it quite a few times in training mode with the dummy set to guard all. It only took like 5 minutes of labbing. If you practice this a lot, I'm sure you could do it very consistently. So we have a move here that every time you block it, you're forced to take 7 damage. There is no counterplay to this. And I didn't mention it yet, but the sidestep is also +20 on regular hit. +20. That is an insane amount of plus frames to get from a poke like this. You can do whatever you want with these advanced frames. Uninterruptible throw attempts, big lows, mix it up. And again, if it gets blocked, you get damage. Why is this a thing? This has to be unintentional. There's no way it's anything other than a bug. So yeah, already this is a pretty unbeatable character. These 3 moves make her poking ridiculous. But that's actually not everything. This is Tekken 5 after all. Everyone here needs to be broken. Her up forward 1, the Blaze Stinger, is another Tekken 5 god move. On the surface, it just seems like a normal mid. Okay, maybe a little bit better than a normal mid. What is that range? She jumps in and is completely safe on block, giving a big chunk of damage and +7 on hit. What made this move incredible was its utility in Oki situations. You would use this move to finish combos when out in the open, and by doing this, it would guarantee a stomp after hitting it, increasing her combo damage a lot. This stomp was guaranteed, you would always get it. But if your opponent knew, they could avoid taking part of the stomp damage by doing an instant tech roll. This is a very valuable piece of counterplay because, even more importantly than taking less damage, it makes the stomp send you flying away, thus ending her Oki. You have more than enough time to get up before she's able to run back in. And of course you would always want to do this, because if you didn't, she would completely bully you on the ground, looping the situation over and over with the up forward 1 and doing tons of damage through the stomps. Staying on the ground is always a bad idea against Nina. But guess what? Trying to do this tech roll is also a bad idea, because after she hits the Blaze Stringer, if Nina presses down 4-1, it catches all wake-up options and gives her another combo. There's nothing you can do. You either choose to stay down and take a ton of extra damage, or risk getting up and getting relaunched. When your opponent is knocked down, this is the best move in the game. Completely ridiculous Oki that got gutted in Tekken 5 DR. She has tons of other stuff too, like Ray Hands, her down forward 1+2, arguably the best homing move in Tekken 5, completely invalidating sidesteps. It's 14 frames fast, has electric-like pushback on block, and is a full counter hit launcher. She needs it. There's like a million other stuff that could be mentioned whenever talking about this character. The Nina community, like they've always been, were incredibly dedicated to getting the most out of their character. So there's definitely a ton of undiscovered or lesser known stuff and tech that I'll miss here. Mad respect to you Nina players. Something that is worth mentioning, however, is one of her throws. Nina essentially had an unbreakable throw. Her up forward 1+2 throw actually allowed you to jump cancel it. What you would do is, instead of pressing both buttons at the same time, you would press and hold up forward for like half a second before pressing 1+2. If you did this, the throw's animation would be cut in half, making it essentially impossible to react to it and break it. She also had forward 3, a +14 on block high string that was hard to duck, a great counter hit launching low in her sidestep 4, a million strong safe mids, tons of strings, and of course, great combo damage. Nina is the complete package in this game, and stands next to Steve as the strongest character. You could argue either of these two are the best in the game. Out of the 3 characters we've discussed so far, I would say Nina probably took the biggest hit moving into Tekken 5 DR. She got nerfed quite hard. Down forward 1-2 is no longer plus on block, it's now -3, meaning it's now a somewhat fair move. Thank God. Sidestep 1 no longer guarantees a low, but it is still +12 on block and +20 on hit. Still one of her best moves for sure. The God Oki move, Blaze Stinger, is now completely useless. It lost all of its range and doesn't work as a combo ender anymore. But her down 4-1 is still a great Oki tool for catching your opponent trying to get up off the ground. It always relaunches for a combo. Her forward 3 got nerfed, going from +14 on block to now +6, and her down forward 1 actually took a pretty big range nerf, having a new animation. While these are pretty big hits to her, yes, all the really dumb abusable stuff is gone, you're still left with a great character. Her combo damage and wall travel are top tier, and her sidestep 1 and down forward 2 still let her rush down like no other character. She still has an 8-frame jab, an infinitely valuable tool, and all the mix-ups she's known for even today. This is another example of good balancing in DR. They kept the character strong and kept her identity intact, while getting rid of all the free win buttons. So far, all 3 of these characters have been decently well balanced in DR. The developers seem to really listen to the competitive scene. It's awesome to see.
Mission complete. Returning to HQ.
Believe it or not, Raven was actually introduced here in Tekken 5, and came in with a splash, being incredibly strong. He had way less game-breaking tools than the other 3 we've discussed so far, and probably wasn't even in the top 5. But I couldn't not put him in this video, and this is why. See, Raven was given multiple tools that allowed you to re-splat your opponent against the wall, mid-wall combo. This isn't like Tekken 8 where everyone can do that. Raven is the only character in Tekken 5 who's able to get a resplat like this. Both his back 2-2, delayed 1+2, and 4-3-3 would resplat, giving him crazy damage whenever he got you to the wall. And if he got even a slightly decent angle at the wall, you were actually just dead. Just like Steve, Raven has an infinite, though his was only at the wall. You could repeat this 4-3-3 string over and over until your opponent is dead, meaning that one single wall splat against a good Raven could end the round immediately. I don't know how Namco let the game ship this way. Even though they were rushed for the anniversary and they wanted to get the game out in good time, I'm almost baffled bugs like this were left in. Besides that, the character was decently all around, having some good poke options, though again, none of this stuff could compete with the top tiers. He was really just carried by the wall stuff and his combo damage, because have I mentioned his general combo damage yet? It was really good. If he hit you with one hell sweep and then got a combo on you, that was it. That's the round. That's really all it took when playing Raven. And admittedly, half the other characters in this game. Speaking of the hell sweep, it was great in Tekken 5. Not having to come from a full crouch made it much more accessible. You would input it whenever you wanted by pressing down back 4, and it guaranteed a follow-up for 35 damage. For some reason, the low also didn't stagger on block, though it was very minus. This low would be used to 50-50 in tandem with his forward 2, a death fist-like attack that tracked to both sides. It did big damage and knockdown on regular hit, and had so much pushback it was safe. You weren't able to punish it. Very strong stuff here. Unfortunately, pretty much all of this was heavily nerfed in 5DR. And of course the wall stuff was all patched out, leaving him very weak. And he remained that way for the next 2 games he was in, until ultimately being replaced in Tekken 7. This guy had a rough couple years. I'm glad he's back in Tekken 8 though, even though I hate fighting him. He's definitely a really cool character. Bryan Fury was at his best here, and hasn't been this strong or this easy ever since. Today, you know Bryan as a counter hit monster. If you press into him, you die, and he combines this with having some of the most oppressive plus frames and lockdown in the entire game. He builds momentum on you while throwing out these huge deadly swings. It's always terrifying fighting this character. Well, guess what? In this game, he had all these strengths that he's known for, except he didn't actually have to rely on counter hits. Chopping Elbow, his back one, is a huge plus on block counter hit launcher that still exists today. It's one of his best moves. For some reason, this launched on normal hit, a normal hit launcher that is very plus on block. This was removed immediately in DR and never seen again. And well, yeah, duh, this is ridiculously overpowered. The move also had such a good hitbox that you would use it in Oki to catch your opponent trying to roll back and get up on their feet. If they did, it would catch them and give you another full launch. Already, this is pretty good stuff. But this is Bryan Fury. It wouldn't be Bryan without his taunt, the unblockable that gives him his identity. I talked about this in depth in the Tekken 6 video, so I won't go too far into how the taunt works, but basically, you do the taunt, and even if your opponent blocks it, you get a select amount of plus frames and can get guaranteed follow-ups. From Tekken 6 onward, the taunt jet upper became a pillar of execution in the Bryan community. One of the hardest techniques you could possibly do in Tekken, but if you mastered it, it's kind of overpowered. At any point, you can walk up, do this quick unblockable taunt, and get a full launch into his devastating damage. It's pretty clearly balanced around how difficult it is to do. Even some of the best Bryan players in the world drop this. It's ridiculously hard to do. Well, guess what? Here in Tekken 5, it was significantly easier. A combination of the taunt giving more plus frames and the jet upper, Bryan's signature 14-frame launcher, being 13 frames fast, made the taunt jet upper stupid easy. I probably only hit like 2 or 3 taunt jet uppers in my life playing Tekken 8 and 7, but I was able to get one in Tekken 5 within like the first 2 minutes. So yeah, he is a pretty accessible, unblockable full launcher. Okay, great. And wait. Can we back up for a second? Did you guys hear me when I said jet upper is 13 frames fast? Yes, Bryan Fury has a 13-frame launcher in this game. He punishes minus 13 on block moves with a full launch and combo. This is a pretty crazy strength to have on a character like this, wow. If that wasn't all enough, Bryan was also known for having the best wall combo in the game. He'd get you to the wall super easily with his hugely damaging combos and great wall carry, and then do 1-2-1 into his Snake Edge low, which for some ungodly reason tracked to both sides, and is completely guaranteed no matter what your opponent does. If they try and tech roll to either direction, it hits them and you reset the situation with either more attacks or you can walk up and get a guaranteed taunt off. There is nothing you can do here besides staying on the ground and eating it. And that arguably puts you in an even worse position, because Bryan can now walk up as you try and get back to your feet and apply another taunt. His wall pressure was simply toxic to deal with. And again, Bryan has crazy combo damage. This has always been a core part of his identity and was the exact same here. If he had a wall near him, you're usually taking 70 to 80% of your health bar, and then have to wake up into the pressure we just mentioned. Fighting him was very fun, to say the least. It's just so frustrating how often he forces guessing games at the wall. Even if he wasn't at the wall, he would finish a combo and then force another guessing game, either doing a Snake Edge if he thinks you'll tech roll, or a back one if he thinks you're going to try getting up backwards, getting a full launch. And this Oki isn't particularly hard to do. It's actually quite easy and quite simple. Tekken 5 was actually before he got some of his core tools today, like his hatchet kick or his 3+4 counter hit launcher. He's missing a lot, but he doesn't need this stuff. He has pretty good low pokes in this game, and actually has his old 3+4, which is very good. This is a quick kick that knocks down on normal hits, and wall splats. The best part about it is it's only -4 on block, barely giving up your turn. These are great stuff. And oh, did I mention he also gets an 8-frame jab? Because yeah, he has an 8-frame jab. His down forward one, just like in Tekken 6, was way better too. The Vulcan Cannon String, where every single hit is delayable, and it's super hit confirmable. This move was a way lower risk than it is today, with the last hit only being -10. These days, you'll get launched if you whiff the last hit carelessly, but not here. So yeah, Bryan was amazing here in Tekken 5, and even after many nerfs in DR, he remained god tier. Let's check it out. In this game, taunt was actually nerfed to what it is today, only giving 16 plus frames instead of 18. But the jet upper remained 13 frames, so the taunt jet upper still had 1 extra frame of leniency. It's definitely much harder than it is in base 5, but it's still twice as easy as it is today. And even if you couldn't do that, you could taunt 3+4 at the wall for a super easy wall splat with no execution, and it did crazy damage. The back one was rightfully nerfed, losing its normal hit launch property, and only launching on counter hit. Great change. The funny part is, even after this move being nerfed, it's still considered one of his best moves today, so it really just goes to show how ridiculous it was in regular 5. Bryan's wall combo was also nerfed because of system changes to tech rolling. A lot of the vulnerability frames when you were tech rolling at the wall were removed, meaning you couldn't just mindlessly spam 1-2-1 and snake edge to cover every option. Though you could actually still try this, as it still tracked to one direction. You would have to always roll right against Bryan. This is mostly it for the nerfs. He retained almost all of his other great qualities. Still had the 8-frame jab, still had some of, if not the best combo damage in the game, still has a 13-frame launcher. Most of the really dumb death combos were removed in 5DR, but Bryan got away with a slap on the wrist. If you got a good hit on you, you would just explode, and his pressure at the wall was still ridiculous. This was actually the first game where the taunt back 4 was truly added, a technique that's still used by Bryan players today. This is your easier option at the wall. Back 4 was buffed to now give 15 frames on hit, meaning taunt back 4 into jet upper was officially added to the Tekken series in this game. His Oki was actually arguably made better in Tekken 5 DR because of the new down 3-2, a quick low mid string that was exceptionally strong and, more importantly, consistent at catching anyone who tries to tech backwards. The move would always scoop them right up and then give you a full combo. 5DR was also the first game where Bryan's forward 3 and while standing 3 were made into counter hit launchers, and even to this day, they remain some of his best attacks. These are really great tools to have. Being super quick, close-range counter-hit tools that are relatively safe. Always great on a character like Bryan. You can't have too many counter-hit launchers. The backsway 4 was added in this game, making his Oki even better. A great move to bully your opponents if they're trying to stay on the ground. And it's a normal hit launcher for your trouble. Bryan remained a top tier in DR. A great pick. But even he couldn't compete with the true top tiers of Tekken 5 DR. The Mishimas. The Mishimas were amazing in both regular Tekken 5 and DR. They sat just outside of the base Tekken 5 gods, but rose monumentally in DR because, while their competition almost unanimously saw big nerfs falling way further down, they remained the same, almost no nerfs, and they were actually buffed in a lot of ways. This was the definitive Mishima game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start by looking at the Tekken 5 versions. Tekken 5 was actually the first time we saw Devil Jin as his very own character, being reminiscent of the original Mishima-style Jin, before he gave up on the Mishima fighting style in Tekken 4 in favor of his karate. Naturally, of course, with his first iteration, this started the trend of Devil Jin being the best Mishima for the following 4 Tekken games. He was always incredibly strong. The developers really loved this guy back in these days. First off, of course, Devil Jin has the Electric Wind God Fist, a plus-on-block launcher, very hard to whiff punish, and leading into some of the biggest combos in the game. You guys know all about this. His Electric also had the largest hitbox out of all the Mishimas, and had the most tracking. This is very important for competitive play. He had the Flash Punch combo, 1-1-2, the iconic 10-frame Punisher, which actually wall-splatted in this game. These days, this is exclusive to Heihachi, but back in this game, every single Flash Punch combo wall-splatted. This is crazy good. This made up for the Mishimas not having an 8-frame jab like some of the other top tiers. Besides the Electric and Flash Punch combo though, what else is Devil Jin known for? Of course, he is known for his 50-50, and he had one of the best 50-50s in the game. Access through his wave dash, where he would constantly realign with his opponent to prevent them from sidestepping his attacks. Strong Devil Jin players would cancel the wave dash into his while standing 2 for a mid launcher. This actually came out at 14 frames in this game. Fun fact, but this was the last time his while standing 2 came out this fast. In Tekken 6 onward, it became a 15 frame move, until a random update in Tekken 8 Season 2, where they reverted it back to the classic 14 frame startup. Pretty weird. Anyway, while this move was -12 on block, so you are taking some risk, the risk reward is always in his favor, because it leads to some huge combos. You're always going to take at least half of your health bar if you get hit by this. Devil Jin mixes this up with the iconic Hell Sweep, a normal hit low launcher, leading to around 50 damage in the open, and like 60 damage if he hit you at the wall. This seems like a good time to mention that his wall combo was actually one of the best in the game, because of how consistent it was. See, the walls worked very differently back in these days. Comboing off of them was really hard because of how fast your opponent's character would just start to fall down. Obviously, these days, you have all the time in the world to walk up and do a wall combo, but you would see even strong players drop wall combos in this game. Devil Jin never had to worry about this, because his wall combo actually started with a low. No matter how low your opponent was falling, it would always connect and you'd get the full combo, making his already insane combo damage even stronger. And yeah, we haven't really gotten too far into his combo damage, but oh my god, it was insane. If he hit you with an electric and got the wall, you are taking 110 damage, giving you like 35 health left to work with. Some of the best combo damage in the game. But okay, the combos and his 50-50 were great, but what about his neutral? Well, until Tekken 8, Devil Jin was always known for having the best poking out of all the Mishimas, and this was the exact same here. Having a long-range down forward 1 and a mid follow-up that was safe on block. We almost never see down forward 1 mid-mid strings being safe on block, but Devil Jin had this. And to make it even better, you could actually dash out of this to reduce some of the recovery frames, making it even more safe, and allowing you to extend a ton of combos that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. This is already really good, but his poking was really made strong because of the laser cannon. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this string. Today, it essentially forces a mind game on block. It's a mid with 3 hits. If you do the final hit, you're at risk because your opponent can easily sidestep it and punish. But if you only do the first 2 hits, you're left at -10, and if they predict it, you can get a punish. Devil Jin today is always taking some sort of risk using this laser cannon. Even though it's still tracking, it's a very good way to stop your opponents from sidestepping. Back in Tekken 5, however, there was 0 risk. The second hit was not -10, and was only -3, barely giving up your own turn, and of course was fully tracking. You would use the first 2 hits constantly to stop your opponent from sidestepping, and always had the option of using the final hits, which could still be sidestepped, but it knocks down on normal hit, so it's an option your opponents always have to look out for. The laser cannon was also kind of gimmicky back in this game. If the first 2 hits counter hit, it would put your opponent into this massive hit stun animation, and believe it or not, if they did anything besides immediately pressing forward to break the stun, you would launch them for death combos. A very weird knowledge check. It still had some applications in top level play. You had to react very, very quickly. If you didn't press forward immediately, he would kill you. So yeah, these 2 safe mid-mid strings are really great for his poking. He of course also has the Demon Paw, which is a safe mid-knockdown attack, and interestingly had a completely unique attack in this game, called Bloody Knife, his back 1. This is a safe on block mid that can be transitioned into wave dash by holding down forward. Now obviously on block, you wouldn't want to hold down forward. You'd be safe, but you'd still be at a minus frame advantage, and your opponents could easily interrupt any option you could do from wave dash. However, if this move actually did land, you would have a huge frame advantage, so big that you could actually get a guaranteed wave dash mix-up, either doing a Hell Sweep or his instant while running 3 for big plus frames. It was also very generous. You didn't have to commit to holding down forward. You could wait until you see if the move was blocked or if it connected, and then hold down forward and apply your mix-up. A very interesting old school move in his toolkits. I honestly think it would be awesome if they brought this back in Season 3. But yeah, besides this, it's mostly the same Devil Jin you guys all know. Super all around, some of the best combo damage in the game, and an incredibly threatening 50-50. He did actually struggle to safely chip away at his opponent because his low pokes were pretty awful. The best you've really got is down 3, doing a laughable 5 points of damage. For everything else, you're just risking your entire life bar, so he did have to take big risks. He was definitely a strong character, usually being considered number 6, 7, or 8 depending on who you ask, but the other top tiers were very far ahead of him. He just didn't have the game-breaking tools that Steve, Feng Wei, and Nina had. But once these game-breaking tools were taken away, he would finally get his time to shine. Like I mentioned, everyone above him was nerfed heavily in Tekken 5 DR, and he was actually buffed. A lot of his combos were made significantly easier, being way more consistent, so that's already a buff. But even more than that, Tekken 5 DR was the game where he started to become more or less the Devil Jin we know today, getting lots of new moves. First off, his up forward 4 was added, which is a safe, slightly evasive mid that knocks down into a guaranteed follow-up. This was also the first game he got his down back 2, which is arguably his most important low these days. Though it started out pretty weak, being launch punishable. You wouldn't want to go for this too often. He got his old school down forward 2 in this game, which is a perfectly safe on block counter hit launcher coming out at 15 frames and only being -2 on block. He would barely lose any momentum if his opponent blocked this. Good stuff. The 50-50 of course remained as great as ever, being an even bigger threat because his combos were made more consistent. And he was given another buff. His down 3 we mentioned earlier, which did no damage, was buffed to do pretty decent damage in this game, giving him a useful safe low poke. He desperately needed that, so this helped a lot. He was a much more all-around character here, who of course still hit like an absolute truck. Another thing to talk about was the new throw he was given. Obliteration. This was broken. If your opponent didn't break it, it would guarantee a down back 2 for 58 total damage in the open. And if you used it at the wall, it would wall splat for similar damage. For some reason, this throw had a 10-frame startup window, which is actually the same startup window as King and Armor King's giant swing. There's almost no time to react to this throw, and this, combined with the tiny throw break window back in these days, meant you were not breaking this on reaction. People actually considered this throw to be even stronger than King and Armor King's throws, which is pretty funny considering these guys are the grapplers. Why does Devil Jin get the best throw in the game? Anyway, while 5DR was significantly more balanced than base Tekken 5, the biggest problem in this game was still probably the damage. There's no reason why Devil Jin's combo should have been buffed from base Tekken 5. He was already practically killing you in one hit, and he continued to do so throughout the life of DR. Many people considered Devil Jin to be the best character in this game, just because of how consistently strong he was. The only other character who rivaled him was Heihachi Mishima. Heihachi Mishima was great in both versions of the game, having tons of unique attributes. First off, he had the best 10-frame punish in series history. Who cares about the flash punch combo wall splatting when you have this? 65 damage. You would take half of your opponent's life bar from a 10-frame punish. And if that wasn't enough, for some godforsaken reason, he was given a 13-frame natural launcher. Standing twin pistons, down forward 1-2. This means that just like Bryan, he could launch you at -13 on block. While he was kind of balanced for not having a dedicated crouching launcher to launch lows, you could actually crouch cancel the twin piston, coming out at 14 frames. So there you go, a 13-frame standing launcher and a 14-frame while standing launcher. Ridiculous punishment, the best in the game for sure. And of course, just like all the other Mishimas, he was pumping out crazy combo damage. He hit like an absolute tank. The staple Mishima forward 3 was plus on block in this game. It's +3. And while Kazuya's was not a normal hit launcher, Heihachi's was. If you get hit by this move, you're taking 70% of your health bar, and if you block it, it is still for some reason his turn. So think about this for a second. He has the electric, a +5 on block instant high launcher, and forward 3, a +3 on block mid launcher. Did he really need all this? Like, who needs poking when you can just throw out these huge swings and keep your pressure going? His momentum just never stops. Speaking of momentum and pressure, his Hunting Hawk was +7 on block in this game, a full screen jump-in attack that gave him +7. If the Heihachi player for some reason pitied you and did want to poke, he still had great poking. His jab back 2 is a high mid that's only -1. Great stuff, and it had a bunch of follow-ups. Heihachi's weakness in this game was the same as it is today. He has bad lows. He's always had bad lows. His hell sweep doesn't naturally combo, it only gives you one hit, even though it is a counter hit launcher, which is pretty nice.
He could really struggle to get his opponents to duck. His mids were just so oppressive, and his lows were incredibly risky for how little reward they gave. His down back 2, for example, which is supposed to be his high damage but high risk low, barely does any damage in this game. Only 14, and it's still launch punishable. Definitely not the greatest. Even despite this small weakness though, Heihachi is, in theory, super broken in Tekken 5.
But just like Devil Jin was held back because of the environment he was in, the few characters above him were just so strong, they were in a tier of their own. Once they got nerfed, however, he really started to shine. The dispute of the best character in Tekken 5 DR, very interestingly, kind of depended on your region. The Korean scene tended to gravitate towards Devil Jin, being a much more all-around and consistently safe character, while Japan preferred Heihachi, with his crazy pressure and punishment. It's still disputed today which character was better, but either way, these two were the undisputed top 2 of Tekken 5 DR, even though almost nothing changed for Heihachi in this game. He still had crazy combo damage, and with the other top tiers mostly getting their damage nerfed, he now has the highest consistent combo damage in the game, even higher than Devil Jin. One electric mid-screen means you could take 80% of your health bar. This is more worrisome when you consider his punishment.
Heihachi still has a 13-frame standing launcher, leading into some of his biggest combos. You cannot use any moves against him that are -13 or more. It's a complete non-starter.
Punishment like this is invaluable in competitive play.
The only real nerf Heihachi got coming into 5DR was the removal of his 10-frame Punisher. You no longer get half-life, which is super valid. This should have never been in the game in the first place. You still have the Flash Punch combo. It's a great hit-confirmable 10-frame, and it still wall splats for big damage.
Of course, all the dumb stuff we mentioned was still here as well. Forward 3 is plus on block, Hunting Hawk's +7, the Mishima Forward 4 is +5 on block in this game. It's just relentless pressure. Something I didn't mention earlier was his Demon Breath, 1+2. This is a 12-frame mid-check, faster than any down forward 1. His Demon Breath was very strong. While these days it's unsafe on block, in this game it was only -4. And to make things worse, if you scored a counter hit, you would get a free stomp for 46 damage, a third of your health bar from a 12-frame safe on block mid. His counter hit utility was kind of good in this game, just from this move alone. Unfortunately, this isn't all. In this game, a lot more of his utility in the Oki state started to be discovered. The sequence I just told you about, for example, the stomp was guaranteed, but you could actually backroll after getting hit. You'd still get hit by the stomp, but it would reduce the amount of damage you took. This was an option. However, if a strong Heihachi thought you would do that, they would implement the full Hell Sweep string, which, if you did try and roll back, would relaunch you for another combo. Once people discovered that his Hell Sweep was good for Oki, it was used in so many different situations. Honestly, in general, backrolling in the Tekken 5 DR era seemed like a terrible idea in almost every situation. These days with Season 2 of Tekken 8, backrolls are just a universally safe way to get out of pressure. We've dumbed down Oki so much. Back in these days, it was a complete death sentence. You could also use forward 2, the Demon Uppercut, for many situations in Oki, threatening to relaunch his opponent for 1 trillion damage. His only real weakness here is a lack of safe lows.
The same as before, though he did get a brand new low in this game.
People call this the Child Tosser. It does 30 damage on normal hits. Good stuff, but it is very slow to start up and is death if it gets blocked. So you are still taking risk. Low pokes that were decently safe on block were very hard to come by. A lot of characters, including top tiers, just really didn't have many of them. The majority of lows in this era were launch punishable. It was very normal. So here comes Kazuya Mishima, the man himself, with his -9 on block low poke. Kazuya in Tekken 5 and DR was quite simply stupid. Some people argue he's not even top tier in base Tekken 5, and let me just say this. You guys are gonna find that very hard to believe after hearing the war crimes he was committing in this game. First off, Stature Smash. This is Kazuya's most well-known low poke today. It's one of the best lows in Tekken 8, coming out very fast and having good tracking properties. If that's not enough, it gives you good plus frames on regular and on counter hit, while only being minus 12. A very small risk. No character in the game can launch punish you for this. Well, in Tekken 5, it was even safer. Not minus 11, not even minus 10. It is safe on block. Only minus 9. You heard me correctly. This 20 damage low cannot be punished unless you low parry it. And if that wasn't enough, for some reason it gave plus 7 on regular hits. This is so many plus frames that your opponent is essentially locked down, not having enough time to try and move around after getting hit by this low. So yeah, that's a pretty good low. And we're not even close to being done here. The Abolishing Fist, down forward 2, his best counter hit launcher, is still a 14 frame fast homing counter hit launcher in this game, leading to some of his biggest combos. Today, it's minus 12 on block, and in this game, it is safe on block. Now, to be fair, it's only safe on block if it's used at clean hit range, so you do have to be a little bit wary. You want to be right in your opponent's face if you want it to be safe, but come on, really? Does this really need to be safe on block? Of course, like all the Mishimas in this game, the 1-1-2 flash combo wall splats for big damage, and Kazuya's combo damage in general is huge. He is a Mishima after all. If this isn't enough for his punishment, his Twin Pistons, which is his crouching launcher, came out even faster than it does today. In Tekken 8, Kazuya has a privilege that almost no one else gets. He's able to launch lows that are minus 13. The standard while standing launcher in modern Tekken is 15 frames. Some characters have 14 frame while standing launchers, which is considered very good, but a 13 frame one? The only other character in Tekken 8 who has this is Eddie. Super rare, and of course a great quality to have on your character. So believe me when I tell you that in Tekken 5, Twin Pistons were not 13 frames fast, but were 12 frames fast. A 12 frame while standing launcher. The only character in the game who has anything like this. Yeah, this was pretty great. He also had a natural 16 frame launcher in his down forward 1-4, which Kazuya today wishes he still had. It wouldn't be Kazuya without the Vortex, the 50-50, which was still very good in this game, despite the fact that the left splits kick, his forward 3, actually was not a natural hit launcher in this game. It gave a guaranteed follow-up for like 40 damage, but it's a far cry from what it is today. So how does he make up for that? Well, he makes up for it with his forward 4. You guys all know this move. It's a classic part of the Mishima game plan, being their main plus on block normal mid. These days, it gives plus 4 on block, and on counter hits, knocks down for a steel pedal. Very good move. In Tekken 5, it's also plus on block, and also knocks down on counter hits. But guess what? If your opponent tries to duck this because they're expecting your Hell Sweep, it now becomes a full launcher for crazy damage. You might not understand immediately, but this makes his 50-50 light years better than it is today. He's constantly giving himself plus frames. Who needs the forward 3 when you can 50-50 with this move? If your opponent blocks it, it's still your turn and you continue your pressure. If they duck it, you get a full combo. Of course, he also has the Hell Sweep, which acted quite differently in this game. You could use it normally for a chunk of damage, but a lot of pro Kazuyas would only use the first hit. The first hit actually knocked down into a guaranteed stomp, already doing a third of your life bar, and giving him good Oki. But you could play around a lot of very interesting setups, like him doing the first hit and then predicting a back roll or a roll to the side and then launching you. There were tons of mind games here. There's some other small stuff, like his down forward 3 being a safe counter hit launcher for some reason. And did we mention the Mishima damage? The electrics hurt so much. Kazuya was crazy in Tekken 5, but again, the gods above him were very strong. A lot of people forgot about him. That was until DR. Everything we've talked about so far remained the exact same in DR, but he was also given a couple of new attacks, like his new back 1. This is a plus 3 on block mid that forces crouch. Very cool, though I'm not sure why you would ever want to use this when forward 4 is as godly as it is. Still worth noting though. He also got a new normal hit mid launcher, forward 2, which is very interesting. I'm guessing he was given this to make up for his forward 3 not being a natural hit launcher, though again, I don't see why you would ever use this when his forward 4 exists. Sure, it does big damage, but it's minus 10 on block. Why take any risk when you have a god plus on block mid like this? He was also given some small buffs. I didn't mention it earlier, but in the base Tekken 5, his Demon God Fist, which is his normal 16-frame while-standing launcher, actually didn't consistently launch. It was another weird stun move where it would put them into hit stun and they'd have to press forward to break out of it. This was actually fixed in this game, giving him a chunky 16-frame while-standing launcher, in addition to the 12-frame twin pistons, which of course he still had. His down forward 2 also got a pretty big damage buff, making his combos even deadlier, and was still bafflingly safe on block. It's crazy to think about. While Kazuya was undoubtedly the worst of the Mishimas in DR, he was still number 3, the third best character in the game, only behind his other 2 family members. Sorry, regular Jin. This is the best iteration of Kazuya we've ever seen, and he would actually remain a top tier in the initial arcade version of Tekken 6, where he was godly, before getting nerfed to the ground and struggling for a bit there in regular Tekken 6. Though he was made top tier again in Tag 2, so this era was definitely good for Kazuya. The final character I want to talk about today is a bit of an unexpected one, Julia Chang, who was a top tier in Tekken 5 DR. While she couldn't quite compete with the Mishimas, she was still a complete joke, and makes the already top tier Julia in Tekken 7 look like complete child's play. First off, Julia's always been known for her insanely oppressive poking and rushdown. The core of her kit is Party Crasher, her most well-known move. In Tekken 7, this is a 12-frame startup mid-elbow strike, elbow meaning it can't be parried, and it leaves her at -2 on block and has a counter-hit launching follow-up. It's considered one of the best poke tools and moves in general in all of Tekken 7. So guess what it did in Tekken 5 DR? It knocks down on regular hit. This 12-frame safe mid-poke that again can't be parried knocks down on regular hit. It only gives +4 in Tekken 7 and it's considered broken. And in this game, it also wall splats for 1,000,000 damage. All this while being only -3 on block. Yeah, this is quite a move, arguably the best poke tool in the entire game. Even Devil Jin's safe laser cannon can't compete with the sheer amount of properties on this move. If that's not enough for her poking and neutral control, she has an 8-frame jab, a quality that became significantly more important here in DR, as the gods of this game, the Mishimas, all lacked an 8-frame jab. What every character in DR lacked was an 8-frame counter-hit launching string from a jab.
That is, every character besides Julia. She can counter-hit launch you from her 8-frame jab. Her 1-2-1 is probably the best string in the game. I can't think of a better one, and I can't think of any other 8-frame jab string in Tekken history that counter-hit launches. We complain in Tekken 8 about 10-frame counter-hit launchers, through Law and Hwoarang, but all the way back here, an 8-frame jab string launcher existed. With these 2 tools alone, you really didn't need anything else. It is Julia though, so she had plenty of gimmicky strings and follow-up extensions, like she's always had. Like how she can go into bow and arrow from her 1-1 jab string in this game. Oh, and bow and arrow, don't even get me started. One of the most frustrating lows to deal with in Tekken 7, also wall splat in this game. The core of this character was just locking you down with her crazy neutral control, and then starting to incorporate her many 50-50s and mix-up options, especially at the wall. She was insanely deadly at the wall in this game, because both the threat of the wall-splatting bow and arrow and the wall-splatting party crasher. She also has great whiff punishers with her forward 3 and other tools like that, and oh yeah, did I mention she also has great combo damage? Because of course she does. She was an incredibly solid and all-around top tier in DR. And I think more people who hated her in Tekken 7 should know about this version of the character, just so they understand how good they had it. While I focus specifically on the top tiers I consider to be the most broken in this video, there is plenty of honorable mentions. So many characters were strong in this era of Tekken. Ganryu was actually really good, being a super simple momentum-based character, having tons of great close-range pokes and mix-ups. Everything was very safe, and he was one of the few characters to actually have a good matchup against Steve, which in a game like base Tekken 5 made him so much better. Marduk was also insane, having crazy movement and range, along with, of course, the tackle and god-tier Oki he's known for. Rest in peace anyone who had to fight this character in tournaments back then.
Law was really good in 5, and even Roger, a so-called joke character, was out here striking fear into anyone he fought, having a 10-frame jab counter-hit launching string, a guard break, a safe snake edge, lots of weird tools like that. There are so many more characters to talk about, so I'll definitely be revisiting this game soon. Stay tuned for the less broken top tiers of Tekken 5 and DR video. It'll happen. But yeah, that's going to be about it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. These videos take a ton of time and effort to make, so if you did, please consider subscribing if you're new, liking, sharing, commenting, all that fun stuff. It helps the channel a lot. Also, huge shout out to my YouTube members who directly support this type of content. Your guys' support really means a lot to me. Thank you guys again for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.